What is up, everybody? Good evening, good afternoon to those who are watching where it's the afternoon time. We are here for season 3, episode 13 of everybody's favorite talk show regarding craps and all things craps and all things crapping. We are here with Craps Chat tonight. We have great group tonight. No, Adam, I am not outside. It's just freaking cold in my house. And DJ's always got ice in the veins, so that's why it's cold in here. But yeah, we are here tonight with a good show. We got some good topic to talk about tonight, I think we're gonna make some people think at home. We're gonna make you think a little bit, maybe ponder some things, maybe do some soul searching, maybe do some, I don't know, why is this happening? Let's talk about it. Well, first, we're going to get to the panel and we're going to talk about some come out roles and what we're coming out on. So, Craig, first of all, congratulations to you and Mr. Ovechkin on number
Thank you.
895. I'm going to go to you on your come out role first. What are we coming out on tonight?
Here's what we're coming about. I'm going to speak up for the hosts, and all I'm going to say is I'm going to go back to it's not as dire as what happened years ago with Big AZ, but regarding hosts, just respect that they're doing their best because they're channeling a lot of things, cameras, Crapsy, betting, rolling, maybe inputting numbers into the roll history and all that. And try not to try to correct their throw during a live. It's not helpful. You can correct afterwards, you can reach out directly, you can DM perfectly fine, but don't try to correct their roll because it's all it is it's distracting. Um, Now, I will say that dice sets that are thrown out to are fun because the whole point of the live show is to have fun, entertain, and you never know. I could throw a dice, somebody could throw out a dice set and I could throw it and have a 30 roller. That happens and that's fun. But if I'm just throwing out just to have a nice live show, fun, it's not a throwing session. It's just a live show. If I do another live where I'm specifically trying to throw, yes, people I know chime in with what they want to help with, and that's cool. But just as a host, doing a live show, you know, back up a little bit, enjoy what you're doing, bet accordingly if it's not going your way, and show the respect. That's all.
Yeah, they call people the Monday morning quarterbacks, the armchair quarterbacks. We're gonna call them the craps table rail quarterbacks. They're the rail quarterbacks right there. Telling you how bad you are, Craig. You're a terrible thrower of the dice, and maybe one day you'll be half as good as them. How about that?
Hey, you know what? I don't mind if you tell me I'm bad. That's fine.
No, we all know you got it. We all know you got a good toss. Yeah, no, just we gotta respect the host. Jen, the Justice. What are we coming out on tonight?
He's on mute. Oh, there she
Well,
is.
it's yeah. I'm trying to be not clackety clack, and I'm taking old-fashioned handwritten notes. But I think it's time to think about being a very responsible adult, and reviewing to make sure that your financial affairs are in order and that you play responsibly. How much you play, when you play, factor in also the travel costs involved, and just have a really hard look at that. That's what we're doing in this household, is reviewing how many more casino trips I have planned, um, and how much of it I want to spend versus can spend. And if I do that, will my goal be to play with my friends and BS, like John said, last a long time with like a bankroll, or will my goal be to crush the casino, which it kind of never is. So it's time to have a real heart to heart with yourself, and wear your big boy, big girl pants.
So that's a good point, Jen. I'm going to summarize quickly. Be a responsible adult. Try to last as long as you can and wear your big boy and big girl pants.
Right. And
I think
don't
I did
forget
a
your
decent job
bends.
summarizing. All right, Dylan, what are we coming out on tonight?
Well, welcome, season 13. Wow, that's just amazing. I mean, that's shocking. it's just mind blowing for me that we're doing this good and this long, and we're continuing to make strides in every new ways. Um, just piggybacking a little bit off of Jen, discretionary spending is, the economy is not the greatest, and there's but I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or anything like that. But it is great to go back to basics and think about different things, and why, understanding your whys of what you're doing, and not overdo it, and not be a complete degen, because there's a time and place for that, but there's a time for being responsible too. Um, the other thing I was thinking about was, I'd like to bring up the subject later on as one of the topics of King of the Mountain. That's a thing that I would love to see us bring it back. And the other thing, and we can try and talk about with the audience. I'd love to have the audience make different suggestions, that they want to see. That's we're here for you guys. So if you have any questions or suggestions, we're all here for you. So this is going to be. I feel that what we have a few topics. We don't have a lot, but I think it's going to be more stone soup tonight, where we're just adding different bits and pieces of whatever life brings, and throwing it into the soup pot to enjoy. So that's all I got.
John, what are we coming out on tonight?
Oh boy, all the things, man. First of all, I'm with Craig. I'm all about Ovechkin. He's been my favorite hockey player since he stepped on the ice. That dude would have been the perfect flyer, like I said in the pregame show here. Love that guy's game, man. Unbelievable. Um, Also sports related. The Huskies won today. I'm not sure if you guys watch women's basketball, but UConn won. Right? No way that team should have been a 2 seed. They were so freaking. That was amazing. Great game today. Better game tomorrow. I mean, Houston. I have Houston winning the whole thing. I got a bunch of money on that game actually, and I'm looking forward to that one. They, I think, are. I don't know why they were a huge underdog, and that win yesterday. Somebody posted on Twitter like the score up 19 with this time to go, up 15 with this time to go, and they just kind of chipped away at that. That was amazing last night. That was really awesome. So going on with everybody else, this will probably segue us into the real topic tonight, but this idea of being careful, I talk about that a lot, and I told my story about the Vegas trip and why I low bankroll and blah 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 blah. And I showed the Horseman on David's show with David dealer versus player, and it's kind of a boring strategy. People are like, I wouldn't play it. It's too boring. There's no opportunity. And I'm like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with collecting money every once in a while. Like that thing, it'll collect, right? And we talked earlier, and we'll talk more later on about other people's strategies that are grinder bankroll building things that maybe aren't the most exciting ways to play, right? But in a world where maybe we should be thinking about how to be financially responsible, finding ways to collect often and not put much more at risk, not the worst thing in the world. You can have a great time at a craps table, making one collection and turning your shit off and having fun with people, right? It's just as good a time as felting the table. Like it's a social game, and I think in these times anyway, we might want to think about that part of it. So be careful. I think this whole notion of being careful and playing, it's not the worst thing to like hug your money, like I always say, and like have a good time playing 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 ways that are boring. You can play boring and still have a great time. So that's my comment.
I like it. I like it. I'm also a Houston fan tomorrow as well. I bet them pre-tournament to win the whole thing. I have them winning my bracket. Um, Go Houston. Duke's overrated. Yes, I said it. I do hope Cooper Flag becomes a Sixer, but that's beside the point. He won't be because the Sixers are trash and they can have the first pick and they won't draft him. But we're not here to talk about basketball. We're talking about some craps, and I'm gonna come out here and I am going to probably ruffle some feathers or maybe some cricket wings. I don't know. Depends who. But ladies and gentlemen at home, we've been talking about being careful and being responsible. Be careful what you're consuming. Be careful and responsible with what you're watching. And ladies and gentlemen who do put out content, be careful with what you say. All right. Your words do matter. Doesn't matter if you are the content provider or the person at home. Your words matter. All right. We've talked about this before. If you're the content provider, be very, very careful with the word new. All right. Nothing's new. You know, the Stone Ages, they were shooting craps. All right. Nothing's new. If you want to quote unquote come out with a new strategy, don't name it the same damn name the other content provider called it. All right. Just, again, I'm ruffling some cricket feathers here, but I mean, yeah, it happens, right? It really does happen. But yeah, just, be creative. Okay. Creativity is really not that hard. But just be careful. All right. Be careful. I'm going to go with the careful segment here, and just be careful what you consume. Don't pay people for stupid shit. All right. We're going to talk about money tonight. We're going to talk about, discretionary spending, as it's been mentioned a couple times already. Just be careful out there. All right. And like I said, don't name your strategy the same fucking name that the other person named it. All right. And no, I'm not talking about me. All right. I don't care if somebody steals my shit. You can have it. I don't care. I really don't. Because it's not mine to begin with. I may have shown it, but it's probably not mine because I'm a 27-year-old kid who's playing craps. And, my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather was playing craps. All right, relax. It's nothing new. But, yeah, Baccarat. Let's just leave the Baccarat to Waylon, and we'll leave it to the casino. How about that? All right, we'll leave it to the banker and the player, and we won't be calling strategies the Baccarat because, first of all, it's not even your first naming convention. I hate unoriginality. I really do. I really do. All right. Anyway, that's enough of me on my soapbox. Let's talk about and real quick, Arnell, great point. If someone is going to use the same strategy, they should say who it's from. If you want to call
Yes,
it the same name, say who it's from. All right. Give credit where credit is due. If you
exactly.
want to work in the real world, and like for me, I'm a scientist, right? If I'm sitting here and I start just pulling data out of my asshole and I start writing it down as fact, well, that's nothing. Well, if I copy somebody else's data, which every scientist does, right? You got to give them credit. You can't just say, well, this is what I found out. No, 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 no. You didn't find shit out. All right. Somebody else did the research that you're basing your thing off of, and you got to give them credit. All right. That's why there's a references section at a lot of different places. That's why you see people say, as so and so said, or as cited in this article, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, just make sure you cite your resources. I know this person doesn't cite their resources. I don't know if they know what a resource is, so that might be part of it. But who knows? Anyway, let's talk about some financial literacy, and let's talk about the casino. What's going on in the casino? Let's go. What's going on in the world? Not going to get political. All right. I want everybody to understand this from the start. There is zero politicking going on here. All right. If I see you start talking politics in chat, I'll ban you myself. I don't even need John to ban you because DJen is on a stump right now, as Ed just said. All right. I'll ban you myself. I don't need it. But no politicking. We're talking what's going on in the world right now with the casino play. All right. Narrow vision casino play world, not politicking world. All right. Let's talk about it. So, everybody, I want to kick it around before we get into the real basis of the topic here. I just want quick. What has been your last casino trip, and what was the vibe at the casino? Busy, not busy, packed, table minimums. I just want to hear, like, I'm not going to cut you off at 20 seconds, but like short little snippet of last casino trip. What were the vibes like? Were table minimums high, low, and was there a lot of people there? So, Jen, go ahead.
I was there for the Big AZ meetup. That was March 23rd to March 28th. And it happened to also coincide with a Caesars 10x multiplier out in Vegas. So it was busy. The rooms were expensive. I got it comped through, of course, the casino host at Caesars. But it was high minimums. It was $25 or $50 tables. It was packed. And like, it was also March Madness. So a ton of like drunk, dumb guys were there. Not too many drunk, dumb girls because they're already too drunk at the bar, but it was just a terrible experience. And then big AZ stuff was at Durango and Santa Fe, and those were private tables, so we were able to play at $10. But it's very hard for me to ramp down from a $25, $50 table to $10, so same buy-in. But yeah, it was busy. It was frantic. I didn't enjoy the experience of the casinos very much. I enjoyed the camaraderie, but if it wasn't for that, I don't know that I would go back to another Vegas 10x multiplier. It was just not. It wasn't fun for me.
Yep. I see in chat too. I know Joe said busy and higher minimums because of March Madness. I know I've heard all about Lou's last trip to the casino. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go, but I heard all about it. I think the March Madness is huge. With bringing people into the casino, especially when there's a sports book there. And then when you add a multiplier and that kind of stuff, I know like even my local recently with the March Madness games going on has been more packed than usual. And when there's, maybe not an interesting game on or there's a lull between games, you find these people going to the tables. And I'm not saying it as a bad thing, but more often than not, it's a bad thing because the etiquette's not there. There's more people playing who typically don't play. Let's say like, maybe novice players who aren't willing to learn. I think there's a big difference between novice players who are willing to learn and novice players who are unwilling to learn how to play games. I'm not even talking about craps. I'm talking, blackjack, roulette, other games and stuff. But yeah, March Madness is definitely a big drawer of that. And then the multipliers at different casinos. They usually draw a crowd in, but I can tell you when March Madness wasn't going on in my local, it was dead. On a Saturday night, dead. And I was like, what's going on here? Like there was nothing going on. Very few events, and the casino is dead. They usually have 4 craps tables open on Saturday night. There was 2 open. So I was like, interesting. Dylan, last casino trip, any lot of people, not a lot of people? How are the minimums?
Last casino trip I went was 3 months ago. All I did was play bubble craps. I've got like there's 5 different casinos here in St. Louis, and I went to a different one that I normally don't go to. And I went to one, but I was surprised that there were different. Well, not surprised, but um, there are different bubble crap machines that are at different levels. Well, some will allow you to do dollar bets, and some will just do a $3 minimum. And there was this one that I sat at that there was a $5 minimum per thing. And I was like, wow. So that was kind of with the table with even the normal tables staying up and high. I wasn't really. I was expecting like $1, but there was a $3 minimum, and then I switched to I was comfortable with that machine, but then I wanted to change. I wanted to try different machines. So I went up and got to the other one that I went to, and it was a $5 minimum, and that kind of like surprised me. So, but were they crowded? Yeah, they were. They're still crowded. 3 months ago, they were still crowded. But that's my little report. My bankroll was 500, and I made 200 profit, so I had a total of 700 when I left, and I paid bills with it. So that's what I want.
There you go.
That was my goal, and I achieved my goal, and I was happy to get the hell out of there with a decent profit. So
200 off of 500 bankroll is a good profit, that's for sure. Nicely done. Craig, last casino trip, how was it?
Went about a month ago. It was a Penn property. Penn doesn't give a shit about comps or making anybody happy. Their dealers are terrible. It was a crowded table, but it was crowded with people who looked like they all had under $100 in chips. I was the only one there that could roll, and I wasn't having a good night, but I stayed on the table for 4 hours, up and down on a $500 bankroll. I left with 150, but there was like between 4 and 4.5 hours, and I'm like, I'm just tired of the BS around the table. The dealers were jibber jabbering, and then the pit boss was trying to get the stick person to calm down, and the stick person would not shut the fuck up while I was rolling. I literally wanted to say, "Please shut the fuck up." If Clay was there, I probably would have been more comfortable doing that. I'm not as outright as Clay would be. We've all seen him at Atlantic City, and he'll tell a dealer what's up. And I can almost get there, but I don't know. I was with someone else who was playing roulette, so I didn't want to ruin the night with that, you know. But yeah, when the vibe around the table sucks, when the dealers suck, and then right around 10 o'clock they raised it to 25 from 15. Like I should have walked away when they raised it to 25. But you know, I actually felt good when I left because I stuck it out for 4.5 hours. You don't normally stick it out for 4.5 hours on a $500 bankroll. Normally you're done in an hour. So you know, and what, and Chris, you would have been proud. Yes, I had a vibe. I put a quarter, or was it a quarter? No, I put 10 on midnight, and midnight rolled. You know, and that's what kept me in it for 4 hours.
The intuition, man, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I love it. John, I know you are spending a lot of time and spending some time in Vegas, spending some time in
Yep.
the Washington casino. So what's the scene looking like in your casino trips?
So in Vegas, I was just down there obviously with Jen, but I was there for 9 days. So I got to see before the weekend of March Madness, and I got to see the 3 or 4 days after that. And after the once Sunday got done, it was dead. It was Deadsville, where I was. Now Palace, well, all the station properties also had a 10x multiplier, same as the Caesars properties did. So that brings in people. But honestly, I put up on the screen here that there's kind of a Walking Dead vibe around town. And I was talking to David. Actually, if you saw the show on Wednesday, the David and John thing, we do the dealer versus player. We're just getting that show kicked off. He talked about it on that show. We had a long talk today about it too because we're working on priorities for the website. And he's like, dude, Vegas is literally the Walking Dead. He's like, there's nobody. He said the strip you can make two lights on the strip now. He said, I've never in my life made two green lights on the strip. And he said, except for COVID and now. And it's definitely economy related. People are nervous or uncertain or whatever you want to call it, and they're just not going to spend money. And there's this other thing that's going on, which he explained very well in that show, which is this holy war between the casinos and the hotels. The HRI and the casinos are in battle right now, and that's why you're seeing that because costs go up, right? All the costs for all the goods to make dinners and whatever goes up, right? People are making minimum wage finally, but that also increased housekeeping costs. So the hotel rooms are higher and the food is higher. And the casino people are like, hey, you're charging people, $200 a night. You're not giving out great comps, and we can't get them to gamble. So what does the casino do? When they're not making money, they got to raise the minimums. And David gave a great analogy the other night where he was saying, and I think I told you this, Jen, in the car. He was given the at a $10 blackjack table, which I didn't know this. A $10 blackjack table, if it's full, loses $80 an hour now. So think about that. That's actual accounting because of what it costs to operate the casino, pay the dealers and stuff. A full $10 blackjack game loses money. It's literally $80 an hour goes out the door. That's why minimums are high. And why is that? Because everything else has increased too. So you have this pushing a snowball up a hill effect in the casino economy, let alone what's happening in the U.S. economy and people not coming. People not coming, they got to scrape every dollar they can out of the people who are there, and it's this kind of a weird snowball sort of thing right now. So it's not the greatest. My experience was busy on the weekend, and like I think it was Craig that said it. I couldn't get on the table in where I was staying. I was trying to do my coffee run in the morning. I couldn't get on full table. What's on the table? A bunch of degenerates with $5 and $1 chips. Couldn't get on, and they were playing for nothing out there, right? They were actually at Palace the one morning. There was three people playing Do We Don't with a $5 cap to turn a $15 table to a $5 table. That's what they were doing. Literally that, and they were doing nothing else but that, right? That was the vibe. It's like I want to gamble, but I got no money, and you know what I mean. So we're in a weird holding pattern. I think that is going to, I think, lead you into the next part of this thing. But what do you do in that circumstance now? If you're living in Vegas or living in AC or living here in Washington where nobody's really gambling, the locality is being impacted by that. Nobody's coming, but we're still gamblers and players, right? So it's like, what are we going to do? Got no money to play, got nowhere to go, but I still had the itch, so definitely an interesting time we're in. It's like COVID, but it's like COVID of our own making, so to speak, right?
Yep. Yeah, we're definitely going to touch on that today. I think a lot of good points were brought up, right, with different experiences, but there's all kind of a common theme with what everybody's been seeing. And this is, around the nation, not just in one casino, right? We're talking East Coast, we're talking, central US, we're talking West Coast, all that kind of stuff. So it seems like it's a pretty common notion these days almost where like, a lot of people are scraping by, right? And people who are scraping by are probably not going to the casino. And if you're smart, you shouldn't be doing that necessarily, right? You're not going to take, let's say, your rent money. I know Adam put it up there as a joke, but like you're not going to take your rent money and go gamble with it, trying to hope you win your rent money, maybe some electric and your Verizon bill, right? Like that's not financially responsible. It's not a good idea to do. So I think you do see a lot of that. A lot of people are uncertain. And like, even in, industries and stuff, right? People aren't buying as much stuff, right? So if people aren't buying things, people also aren't going to the casinos. And, John made a good point too with, how much costs are rising, but then that also kind of influences what the table minimums look like. It also influences what we as players get, right? Like, I don't know how many of you at home track your comps, right? But like, what do your comps look like this year? I know Jen's got her handwritten legal pad just going down. I already know it. And Jen, the only reason I have this legal pad next to me right now is because you're here. So like I literally got a prop just because you're here. But no. Luckily there was no proprietary work stuff on there. No. But like, you get different costs going into it. So like, you may not be getting rooms or you may not be getting things like I know, for example, at the Atlantic City 10X the other week, I know there was players paying for rooms, right? Like typically, most of our group's not paying for rooms, right? We're getting something comped or whatever. Like there was quite a few people, and I'm not saying paying a little bit for rooms. I'm talking like $600-700 a night for rooms, and like yeah, you're in Atlantic City, but like this is not like a 5-star hotel. Caesars, if you're listening, you're not a 5-star hotel. All right. So you're not charging 700 a night. Let me tell you that. For some crappy room with no view that I'm not sitting in anyway because I'm at your tables gambling. So it happens, right? But yeah, rooms are expensive, everything is expensive. So like what can we as players do if you're not going to the casino, right? If you're not going to the casino because maybe you don't have the disposable income to go to the casino, maybe that trip that you would take overnight because it's a far drive cost you a couple $100 before. Now you're approaching $1,000 because you got to pay for gas, you got to pay for your room, food, you got to pay for all that kind of stuff now because maybe you're not getting as many comps. So as a player, what do you do? Right? What do you do? Do you just forget about it? And I want to see your answers in chat. Put them in the chat. I can see it. I know John can see it. Probably everyone on the screen can see it. But like, what do you do? Do you just not go? Because like I know a lot of people get that itch, right? You get that gambling itch and you want to go play, and it's like, well, shit, I have $100. Not probably responsible for me to go sit at a craps table with $100. What do I do? So like, do you want to play Crapsy? Or are you going to watch, more YouTube videos, or what are you going to do? So let me know in chat what you guys are going to do, or what you would do. And then we'll talk about it here on the panel of what we would like to do, that kind of stuff. How would we practice, or how would we get our craps fix? And then also in chat, you get a second assignment. I'm sorry, you guys have a lot of homework. All right, you have a lot of homework, so get your legal pad out that Jen has because we're going to need you to write some things down here so we don't forget. What do you want to see like content providers do, right? Because content providers are here to provide content, right? That's what we do, right? We provide content. So like maybe you're not getting your craps fix. Does Crapsy give you that fix, or is something else going to give you that fix? Right? Because we all know we all have a little degen in us, so we need that fix. And how are you going to get that fix? Craig, what do you do when, let's say, you may not be able to go to the casino? What do you do? And what would you do? Let's say you don't have a table, right? I know you have one. I know quite a few of us do. So like we're fortunate we
Okay.
have them, right? But let's say you don't have a table.
Here's what you do, and I want everybody to get close to the screen, okay? I'm gonna whisper this, okay? Get close to the screen. You practice. You take 2 dice. It doesn't matter where you throw it at. You can throw it into a chair, into a pillow, on your bed. It does not matter. You can still practice. Practice, practice, practice until, and then over time, you can still be putting small amounts from, let's say, your paycheck, a little bit of extra here, a little bit of extra there. Just start putting it into your bankroll and let that accrue over time until you do decide to go to the casino when it's the right time to go. That's what I've been doing. I just told people off camera that, on the weekends, I'm actually trying to practice 3 times a day. Sometimes in the evening, the wife goes to watch TV, and she certainly doesn't watch what I like to watch. So she'll watch that, and I'll just come down here and do a practice session. If I'm not doing that, and it's the work week, find a way. I get 2 15-minute breaks and like a 30 to 45-minute lunch. I'll use it to practice. So I'm practicing all day long, every single day. And the more I'm doing that, the more I'm getting in tune with how my throw is. I'm able to take the time, read the dice, read the table, read what's rolling. That'll help me mentally next time I go to the casino to make sure I'm paying attention to what's rolling. You can practice strategies all you want, but strategies are temporary. Okay. I'm going to get shirts made for everybody, including the audience. Okay. With my imaginary $1 billion, I'm going to get shirts for everybody that says strategies are temporary. So, but practice them all you want. Just make sure you're practicing. I don't care what it is, just make sure you're practicing and then building your bankroll over a small period of time until you are ready to go to the casino, and then take it, see what you can do, go to a multiplier. Multipliers are fun. You're usually hanging out with a crew. They all like you. They all know how you throw. You know how they throw. Majority of the time, when you're throwing with a nice crew, you all are going to do well.
True. That's true. Do want to put a little asterisk next to the word practice, right? Like you're going to hear probably all of us say practice, and I saw it in chat a couple times. Practice a variety of different things, right? If you have a table, yeah, you can practice throwing. I'm not talking about throwing though, right? Practice different situations, okay? When you're at the casino, right? Maybe you practice what you do when you step up to the table, you have your buy-in, right? But how many people practice being down half your buy-in? Or when you get down half your buy-in, or you're like, ah, shit, what do I do here? Right? Like, I think it's a good idea for a lot of people to start practicing those kind of things, right? Because unfortunately, we don't want our sessions to go like that, but they may, right? We all want to have positive vibes, good session, but you need to know what to do in some of those situations, right? So like practice being, let's say you buy in for $1,000, practice at 500. What are you doing, right? Are you doing what you've been doing? Are you changing something, right? You got to treat this game and all games like you would a sport, right? If you're a 3-point shooter in basketball, since we're talking about basketball earlier, if you're a 3-point shooter, are you just going to sit behind the arc and shoot threes all day? Or are you going to work on maybe your 20-foot jump shot? Because eventually people are going to start getting to you out at the arc and you're in trouble. So you're going to have to dribble past them, pull up, work on that shot. Well, you got to work on different aspects of your game. And unfortunately, being down is it should be part of every gambler's game. So you know what to do. All right. Just a little caveat there.
No, Chris.
Go ahead.
Jen's got the funds to make shirts, and she can make shirts that say, don't go to the casino to practice. Practice at home. Don't go to the casino to practice. That's what the shirt will say.
Yeah. And like, I know some people, a lot of people, right? You don't have a table. I get that, right? Don't have a throwing station. I get that. You can get chips, right, at Walmart, Target, Amazon, wherever you want to get your chips. All right. They're not that expensive. You can do whatever you want with them. Okay. If you don't want to go spend money on chips and you want to be a little creative, cut paper out. Literally cut paper out and write the denomination on it. I don't care what you do, whatever's going to help you. Or if you want and you're a little more tech savvy, you can get on free Crapsy and play on that. Or you can go on like Wizard of Odds and play on that. Or there's 30 other crap simulators you can go on, right? I'm not promoting any of them. You can go on any of the crap simulators and start practicing on those just to get a feel for things. And if you want to roll dice around your table, you can do that too, right? But make sure you are practicing from a variety of different scenarios. Just like you're practicing that I'm down 500, well, maybe practice that I'm up 1,000, right? If you're not going to leave the casino when you're up $1,000, practice taking some of that money and put it in your pocket, right? And then go play with whatever you have left over. But practice, 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 practice. It's like Allen Iverson said, right? All right, Dylan, how would you practice, or how do you practice?
I practice on Crapsy. Crapsy is my bread and butter. That's what I survive on for my casino itch, and that's just plain out, dead serious. And there's different types of itches that you can have as well. I mean, if you really want, there's different styles that you can do, and what I mean by that is that, like Big AZ, you have to have that is a strategic type of craps where you're really using your brain, because and that's a different style of fun for the players that actually play that. I'm sure it's fun in Crapsy, but you can't convert the whatever the rule changes are, that translates to Crapsy. Crapsy hasn't gotten to that far yet, and I don't think that they'll ever get that far, honestly. But but if you pay your little $5 to get on Big AZ's channel and be a contestant, then you will be using your brain in a different capacity of thinking of these different rule changes and what's the best advantage of how to play. And so that's one change of pace that you can do, is to quote unquote change the rules a little bit. And the other thing is that I do love Crapsy, and so I do play it, and I do have a subscription. I have the yearly subscription. But they have a free version of Crapsy. You get 300 to play that with other people at on the Crapsy tables, so that you don't have to pay the $5 subscription of Crapsy if you can't afford it, or you choose not to, or what have you. But it's still fun to do different things, like Chris was saying, challenge yourself in different situations, and I do that, and I find that fun. And I always look forward to playing at Crapsy, because I never know what situation I'm going to get into, and I'm striving to improve myself, no matter what, whether I'm down, and I get smacked, my bankroll gets smacked. Thank God that it's not real. It's Monopoly money. But you can still make it feel real, and then you can still make a recovery plan and say, hey, treat it as though it's real, and go at it.
So, Dylan, do you ever return to like your earlier videos where sometimes you have that itch, you got to hold chips. And do you ever still play with your layout and chips and the dice?
Yes and no. Not as much as I used to, but if I want to, the wife will tell me, go upstairs and play with the chips. And what I'll do is, I will take this, and this is the honest God's truth. I will take a YouTube video that is either super ancient, that I don't, well, you can't memorize rolls anyway, but I will pick videos that I want to see, and I will play them. And as a YouTube content creator, playing their stuff, I will sit here and have a bankroll, and I will do my stuff to their rolls, and right here on my little table. And so that gets me messing with my chips and in different denominations and pressing and regressing and whatever I want to do, along with them. And I have no idea what's going to happen, on their video, and that's still fun. So that's just a different way of doing it.
That's a great point, Dylan, because like I know Craig was talking about it, you get the chip rail quarterbacks who are sitting there saying, I would have made $3 million on that roll. Now, would you have? Would you have, right? But like hindsight's 2020, right? We all know it. If you're sitting here and like I tell you, well, I just rolled 6 8s, well, you already know you're gonna start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm pressing, I'll collect on the sixth one, and then I'll pull down back. Yeah. Good idea, right? You don't do that in the casino though, right?
Right.
Nobody's doing that because you don't know what's coming next. So
Exactly.
that's another great point, right? It may not even be a live show. It
Right.
may be a video that somebody's rolling out a strategy or something, right? And let's say we don't care about the strategy. We don't care. We just want to use their rolls, right? So you sit there, and the great thing about like YouTube, they got this pause button. It's fantastic. If anyone doesn't know, it's in the bottom left-hand side of your screen, or you can just click anywhere on the video. It pauses the video, and like you can set your bets up, right? And you don't have to worry about, oh, okay, I have a timer. I don't have to worry about the timer, right? You can say, okay, let's say I'm playing the skill 66. All right, 5 rolls. Great. I'm dropping $1 in. The dealer's paying me 21. I'm going 22 pressure inside, right? And you can get that going. One, it helps you practice maybe if you're playing that sort of strategy, or two, but you also know what the next move is, right? You
Yep.
know you're dropping $1 down. So when you do go to the casino, you already have that dollar in your hand ready to go. And as soon as the stick man makes that call, bang, dollars out on the table. And when a dealer gets to you, key point, gets to you, don't just yell, oh, press me. No, wait till the dealer comes to you, and then you say, press me 22 pressure inside, press me 1 unit inside, whatever you want to say. You get there and you do it. And then, again, play the video, right? Because some people are rolling fast in videos. I get it. Some people are rolling slow. There's a great other feature. Speed it up.
Yeah,
You play on your time.
I was just gonna say that, you can speed things. You can make the video go kind of at your own pace, or
Exactly.
slow it down or speed it up. And I have found that the majority of the times I'm speeding them up because it takes them, they're gathering the dice, and I'm only caring about what I'm doing. So they're wearing, the content creators wearing different hats, and they're doing other things, which is quote unquote slowing them down. So I really push the speed up button, to make it more, to make it go quicker. And
no, it's true. It's a
you'll
good
find
point.
out.
It's a good point, right? Because like even for me, right? I'd like to think that I'm relatively quick in when I do my videos, right? But I know in the back of my head, right? I am throwing the dice, making the stick call, dragging the dice into the dice cam view, right? Entering it in on the roll tracker, then going to the payout, probably explaining something in there, right?
Commentary.
Then getting to the next move. If you're just looking for the rolls, you don't need all of that, right? You really don't. You just need the rolls so you can keep going what's going on. And using rolls is a great way to just practice what you're doing, right? I know Ed put it in there, practice like you play like you practice. But like it's really, really true. You do need to actually practice this kind of stuff because, again, athletes, right? They don't just show up and ball out. They're practicing. They're putting the work in. We as players need to be doing the same exact thing. So, Jen, what's your little practice sessions look like? What would you be doing to practice, or how do you practice?
Well, I think there can be no such thing as too much Crapsy. Some of the Crapsy, the pace is glacial, and that's very painful, but some of it is just great. But, I need to stop worrying about people being maniacs in Crapsy. I think the thing is I'm there to practice, some strategies, especially if it's a reputable shooter like Ed. I always use Ed's live rolls. I do pause. I like to hear the country in him. It's very entertaining. So I'll listen to it. I'll pause. I'll do that. And I really live for playing don't on edge so I can practice the stressful situation of what happens when, he's rolling great and he's banging out points and I'm just getting murdered, right? Then how do I build back? And I think that was one of the best points that you've made today, and actually on all 3 seasons, is you have to practice the adversity. Practice like when you're down 50%. What is, is this your stop loss? You just get up and go. And just watching Joe, like, he has like 60 roll monsters, and then he has days where he can't roll his way out of a paper bag and get 3, right? Like, so on those days, and I'm watching, like, what's his bet? His bet is like 900 across, and like, let's hope to get the 60 roller. And Joe, who's such a disciplined player, we play with him like that's not how he plays at the casino at all. That man is like 2 hits and down. He does not care that 30 more rolls goes by. He's done, right? But in Crapsy, he, he's doing a takedown, and it's like, I just need to stop worrying about that. I can't play that way. I used to play like DGE. I think I got to go back to that. 678 has never failed me, and I don't know why I abandoned it, because it's so unsexy. It's like one of the more boring ways to play. And if you do 678 and you just select once and you're done, then you just sit there and it's like watching paint dry. But it is a steady Eddie bankroll builder, and I think we're just talking about Craig and I were just talking about that DGE style of 678 bankroll building. It's solid. It's super stout. He's got other ways, and he used to encourage us to practice by rolling it out, real chips and rolls, and just getting picked off all the time. The reality is the don't looks like a really good play, but you're just getting murdered on the come out. You're just always getting hammered. So I do practice that. It just perhaps it gets to be very frustrating because I feel like I'm always mid. I'm always just breaking even. So, the more I do it, the more I realize the hedgy wedgy ways are just gonna just bleed you out dry. And then, when I go to the table, because I've only been practicing like hedge ways to play, I feel like I'm not picking a side, and I have to practice picking a side, whether it's one way or the other. And I just want to learn from folks, when they have success, but it can't be blast and hope your way out. Like, like 50% down, this is what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to dump all of my money in. And then you do catch a good roll and you're like, oh yeah, that's the things you remember. And like, I'm always way behind. And when I played with John, also now that things will be tight, people, should be more responsible and think about it. And if you have the discretionary income, great. And you set outside what he calls this the 401g, which I can't stand that term, but he does, and it's okay. If you do that, that's great. But I watched him plug his money real tight, but it was very stressful to watch him. And I'm sure it was very stressful for him because, of his, like maybe he doesn't have as much disposable income as he wants that moment. He doesn't bring as much bankroll as he wants. It's stressful to watch him. And when you get picked off a little bit and your like chips are kind of going down, I felt panicky watching him, and I know he was calm about it, but I was, it's just not fun. So I think I also need to stop worrying about John. And John has to play. Like, people, because he's pro craps, they expect him to play, right? And he's having a good time, and he's, his term farting around. That's like, man, I hope that people remember to just, it's okay to bankroll build. You can do it on bubble craps. I built it from $500 to $10,000. Where that money went, I don't know, because I was like,
I was
now
just
I
going
can
to
do
say that,
sexy
Jen.
things.
I was just going to say that because, for somebody like, I'm not very with it with bubble craps. I've said it before, but, I think I will start, like, if things are going south, just go right to DGE's way of playing and see if I can mini bankroll build back up to being able to play what I want and throw, normal the way I want instead of random. But, for you, you are the kind of person that plays at the table, and then when you're down, you go right to bubble craps and you build it right back up. And in like the next hour, you're back at the table. And then if it happens again, you go right back to bubble craps, and that's how you do it. Versus somebody like, going from light to dark. I find that very funny, but that works for you. So, you've made a specialty out of that, and you've said that before. You're like, I make all these, and Jeff and I are a witness, and probably John now too, and maybe even Chris. We're all witness to Jen playing bubble craps. So, Jeff and I saw Jen make, I think it was $400 in 9 minutes. And then Jen said it before, she'll build her bankroll up and bubble craps and then go burn it at the table. and then come back to bubble craps and do it all over again. But that works for her. And it works differently for everybody else. You just have to take the time to practice, like Chris said, just practice scenarios. Um, you know, you all actually saw it on my last live for the first time ever, and I had to wait till G went to Halo. Um, but I was playing light side and getting killed, and I went to Charlie's DGE for one shooter, and it actually built me $300. Now I burned it on the next shooter. I went back to normal, and I think I PSO'd. But still, the whole point is when you're down, you got to switch, and you got to switch them based on what's rolling. And clearly sevens were rolling at that time, so I switched over. But you have to practice that. You have to practice different scenarios, like Chris said. It's just so important to really build your crapsology, we'll call it. I'm sure John could probably turn it into a Webster's dictionary terminology. Crapsology.
Well,
Yeah, no, it's true.
you're
Good, let's go.
you're you're honing your discipline skills, and that's you're building those discipline muscles for when bad times come, and that way you don't have to. You can sit there and fight and fight and fight, and press. If you're at a $10 table, press one unit of $5, on a place five, going from 14, I mean, going from 10 to 15 and 10 and 15 to 20. You don't have to go, super, super, super aggressive and whatnot. There's no need for that. You can practice your discipline skills and you can come back. It's not just a hope and a prayer. There are discipline skills that we can do that can, we can come back. It's not impossible. I mean, there's no again, no guarantees. That's one of my taglines. There's no guarantees. We all know that, but we can fight the good fight as well.
Yep.
I want to add
And
something
even
real
with
quick.
this,
Go
go ahead,
ahead,
Greg.
Chris. I just want to
Go
add
ahead.
something real quick. So, discipline is not only for when you're down or when you need to know you need to walk away. I know, and I bring this up because Waylon was in the crowd tonight, and Waylon has said this before. You have to be disciplined enough to know when you're hot as a shooter, when you're heating up as a shooter. Don't change. Be disciplined not to change your set. Who cares? Who gives a crap about the ATS if you're hitting boxes? Keep hitting boxes. Don't change your set. Don't
You'd be
change your set to try to
surprised.
hit something that you wouldn't normally be able to hit just because you're trying to finish out something. Not if you're nailing boxes. I would rather you hit 12 sixes than to try to go for that goddamn 12 on the ATS only to 7 out 3 rolls later because you changed your set. Be disciplined enough to do that,
Yep. And going on the discipline thing too, John, I'm coming to you next on practice, but on the discipline thing, and I know there's been a lot of chat about, Crapsy and stuff like that in the chat and stuff. Like, be disciplined to play on Crapsy with what you actually buy in for at a casino, right? And play how you would play at a casino. I know you may get $2,000 starting bankroll on Crapsy. I want to blast away. I want to blast away. Is that actually practice though, or is that just having fun? Right? At that point, you're just having fun because you don't actually buy in for $2,000. Let's say you buy in for 500. If you tell me, all right, I'm going to 4x all my bets and play how I play, different story, right? Because you're playing how you would normally play. You're just playing at a larger multiple because you have a larger bankroll. But why not just play at $500 because you want to see your name in lights at the top of the leaderboard? Is that why? Play how you would actually play and use and be disciplined enough to know, like, I don't actually buy in for $2,000, right? I don't buy in for $2,000 at a casino. So, like, when I play on Crapsy, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I could go blast across because why not, right? That's fun. You get to see DJen's name at the top of the leaderboard. It's not realistic, though, and it's not practice, all right? That's not a version of practice, okay? That's you having fun. There's difference, right? If you
Yeah.
want to be seriously practicing, play with $500 on Crapsy, and you do have the ability to, get a rebuy or other stuff. But in the casino, are you rebuying?
Right.
Probably not, right? You're probably not, because you're probably buying in for what you do buy in for, or you're going to the ATM pulling more money out.
So I just want to add real quick. I don't know we haven't gotten to John yet, and John, I'm sorry. I want to say this because Ed and G are both in the audience, and they both have said it before in different ways. Um, G just said earlier that's why he starts using free Crapsy, because it only gives you $300 bankroll. He wants to challenge himself to see what he can do with 300. I guarantee if you take the hops away from Crapsy, you aren't going to see some ballooned profits as much as we do see. Because people don't, they're playing for entertainment. And if you're playing for entertainment, don't fucking brag. You're playing for entertainment. You're trying to put, 2,000 on a hop. Yeah. Ooh, you like Chris said, but Ed said it before too. G said here about, that's why he plays with that. Ed has said before the reason he likes to buy in for 620 is because he likes to challenge himself to try to get to 1800. He said that in more than one video, I believe, and maybe even on with Jeff and Gargoyle at one point. But if you're doing that, if you're seeing, when I practice with 600. That's all. I don't ever give, when I go live, yeah, I give myself 1,000 or 2,000 because everybody else is getting 5,000. But if I'm just doing my normal practices, I always do it with $600 and I see what I can do. And sometimes you got to walk away with 300 or less. But then other times it does feel really good to accomplish and make $300 off a $600 bankroll. Can you turn that into over 1,000? That's a really good challenge, but not enough people have the discipline to do that.
That's true. No, and I know Leon and Nemo made a point in here too about like if you set a buy-in, like the bankroll on Crapsy too low. Like I'm not saying to set your bankroll at 500. What I'm saying is for people who are playing to play within their means and play with 500, right? Just because you have 2,000 available doesn't mean you need to play with all 2,000. You can play with 500, right? And on Crapsy, right? Everybody has different buy-in levels. If you kicked it around this table here, or the panel here, everybody buys in for something different, right? Because it's how we play. It's how much money we have to play with, right? There's different factors that go into that. So I'm not saying to set your bankroll to 500 because, yeah, people are going to bitch, moan, and complain because believe me, I've done it. And you should see the emails I get after the fact. Oh, I don't play for 500. I'm sitting here. I'm like, the person who's emailing me, I played with you. You bought in for 500. Shut the fuck up. You didn't buy in for 2K. All right. I played with you before. Shut up. But my point is that everybody can just play with what they want to play with. But unfortunately, that's not always so easy. And John, I'm sorry, it's taking a little bit, but we're coming to you now. How do you practice and what do you do to practice?
Wow. Well, I practice live every day with everybody, right? That's my practice. But I got to rewind this a little bit because this topic started about what are you doing because you're probably not going to the casino right now, right? If you're not going to spend the money to travel and you're not going to burn your precious savings account when you're uncertain about what's going to happen in a month or 2 months or 6 months with the market, right? That's this came back to, right? And I think we got on this topic of well, practice. You should practice, 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 right? I'll push back a little bit actually, and this will surprise some of you. I think practicing is good and fun, but craps is a social game. Our mutual friend Greg from 555 Craps, right? When I was at his house, he made this comment to me, and it sticks with me. He's like, you know what? And I'll show it to you right here. What's behind me? My craps table. Chris, you got one too, right? Greg said, I don't have to ever go to a fucking casino again. I first never heard him swear, by the way. I never got to go to a casino again because I can play every single day. I get to play the game I love for free every single day. I don't have to go to a casino, right? Now here in Washington, we're lucky that there's me, there's Ian, there's Craig, there's a few other people that have tables in their homes, right? What they've been doing recently is more and more in-house meetups, right? Hey, come on over on Saturday and we'll get 10 people to somebody's house and just play at the house, right? And like it's just as fun as being at the casino with zero risk. You're practicing
Yes.
situations, you're calling your shots, you know what I mean? You can say, I'm going to pretend I'm $25 down or whatever, I'm going to fight back, right? Or just drink at that guy's beer and have a good time in the garage, right? That to me replaces the experience of a craps table live as best you can in a situation where you're not going to go. Yeah, it's practice, but really it's about the social fun part of that. And I'm thinking more as I'm reading the texts here in the chat, I'm listening to y'all talk about Crapsy, and there's half of me who has been bitching since Crapsy day one about people going crazy and not playing like real and use it for practice. I would say this: if you treated each show differently, right? On my show, right? I'm bankroll building, right? I'm daily paycheck. It's 2 or 3 shooters. I'm trying to build some money and get the hell out, right? When I'm doing my show, play with me on my show the way I'm playing. Like, let's see if you can build some bankroll today. You're going to get a limited amount of time, build bankroll, play careful. When you're on Hawaii Crap Shooters, weekend tournaments, go on fucking blast and have a great time. Try and be the top of the leaderboard, right? When you're playing with Craig or G or whoever else, right? Treat that like a day at the table. Pretend you're at the table for a longer session and play with your legit money, right? Sometimes top of leaderboard is fun. Sometimes practicing different things can be fun. I think each show, and that this comes to us as providers, right? I'm declaring right now, Coffee and Crafts or the Coffee Run is going to be a bankroll building show. Please bankroll build with me, right? On Hawaii Crap Shooters, it's pedal to the metal. And by the way, tournament play, we all say it's bullshit. Nobody plays that way. Guess what? There's a tournament about to get started. I'll have details for you very soon, where the grand prize is an all expenses paid trip to Vegas for the top 8 people to play at a table for $50,000. So get your tournament game up and you can win actual money every year on this thing, right? That's an actual thing. There's a skill to that I don't possess. I'll never win that thing, right? But if there's a world in which going flame ball crazy is actually going to help you at some point. It is a realistic thing to play in a tournament and maybe get something. I think use your at home time if you're not going to travel and play. Yeah, improve yourself, but be fun ways to have fun. Gargoyle, we had a meetup at my house with 13 people yesterday, right? That's amazing. This, and I'm telling you, I wasn't there, right? I guarantee they had as much fun at his house in that basement as they would at a trip to the casino, and nobody lost any money, right? And
100%.
again, craps is the
Yeah.
game we love. Fucking play it and have some fun with it, right? You don't have to go, right, and blast your hard-earned money, especially now when that hard-earned money may not be back for a while, right? So that's an
Yep.
important thing. And I think on the bankroll build thing, I can't build bankroll now, right? I don't live near a casino to go up and build bankroll. I'll do other things to build bankroll. Like I'm going to do side work, right? I'll pick up some shifts here and there. I'll build bankroll in other ways right now instead of going to the casino to try and grind it out. I'll just do whatever else and kind of protect it a little bit. I think you can do this a lot of ways. And as us as providers, we got to find better ways or more ways to have fun with each other. Like I'm
Yeah.
looking at this situation we're about to face with the economy a little bit like COVID. Like, hey, let's recoil a little bit. Let's find ways to play and have fun. Let's find interesting ways to use Crapsy together. Let's do more collaborations where you've got G throwing on DGen show and you know, we'll all play together, right? And remember my whole trip around the table thing? It'd be kind of cool to do something like that where you've got 4 or 5 people shooting the dice. No, not that same show, Jen, but like multiple shooters, not LFC style where it's 11 hours, but a session. Like let's go around a table with 8 different people and get in and get out and do interesting things as providers that make our time together not the same old, same old. Shows like this, shows like David and I are doing, right? There's different things to make this, whatever long this period of time is going to be, fun and engaging and all that kind of. That's what I want to get us to. Practice is a part of it, but you can't sit here and like fucking take notes and practice and all the time you'll go crazy. You'll hate it, right? Let's find ways to have fun with each other. And if you live in a place where you can get to somebody's house once a week, or maybe rotates house to house, if you're happen to be lucky enough to live in a world like that, then take advantage of that, right? And get with people
Yep.
because you can. It's not COVID. You can actually get with people now. You don't have to, whatever, like not
And
touch anybody.
it's a
You can
lot
actually get-
easier than people think. Like
Totally, it's not that
there's
bad.
I'm,
Yeah.
well, John, I'm glad you brought this up, right? Because like practicing on a table is very different than practicing with at your desk or whatever it is, right? But a lot more people have tables than you think they do. All right, and I'm not talking about just YouTube people who are
It's
throwing a camera up over
so
their
true.
table and filming things, right? Like there are a lot of people who have craps tables, and let me tell you something, they more often than not, I would say 95% of the time, are so willing to have people over to play and to practice and do other things that, like, if you go.
Okay, I think we're here. I think we're back. Can somebody in chat say that we're back, please? Um, if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up that I can see you. I'm going to add everybody back in again. I think we're back.
There he
Add
is.
Jen, add Chris, add. Yeah, we had a my router rebooted. I'm not sure what happened there, but
Cadillac Jack said the
it
internet payment was on the pass line.
literally yeah, it just rebooted. I think I got everybody.
The funny part, what's it called? Larry goes, DJen was getting censored for his rant that wasn't coming, which is true. But no, it's true. What's it called? What I was saying was this.
What you were ranting.
What I was ranting about is this, that a lot of people who have tables are very willing to have people over and to have nights where you can practice shooting and betting and all that kind of stuff, as opposed to actually going to a casino. So I was mentioning the crap strategies, whatever Facebook group. There's, I don't know, 100,000 people in the group, right? From all over the US, right? All over the globe for that matter. And a lot of them have tables, right? There's a lot of people in this world who have tables that you would never think have tables. I go to my local and I know 3 guys who are there regularly who have tables and want to have people over to play, right? So make friends with people, right? John's talking about social game. Make friends with these people, and you can go and practice and do that kind of stuff, right? It's really not that hard, and you can experience the casino without actually risking money to be playing in a casino, right? So make friends with those people. And again, there's a lot more of them than you think, right? People are putting up so much stuff about them making a table, or, them having a table, all this kind of stuff. Just because you don't have a camera up over your table putting out videos doesn't mean you don't have a craps table. All right. So meet some friends, make some friends, and get on their tables, and you guys can practice. You can play. Listen, right? What I do when I'm practicing, I'll put basketball on up on the screen, right? I know some of you haven't seen my setup. I'm not trying to brag about a setup, but look, right? There's a flat screen over the table, okay? I'll put sports on and shoot. My neighbors come over to come shoot, okay? Practice their betting, practice something they saw, right? We have a game on usually, and we're having a good time, and it's a fun time. The refrigerator's right around the corner, always full of beer, always full of sodas, and my liquor cabinet is always stocked. All right. So always a good time, and you can practice, and you don't have to worry about risking money.
I'll be over this week.
Yeah, but please clean your creepy den man cave, guys. Check your toilets, clean up your shit. Just have a nice environment, and then the girls would actually probably come. My wife's like, "What girls? What's happening?" Sorry.
I'm questioning Jen here with, are you challenging me that I struggle in the ladies department? Is that what you're questioning me on now, Jen?
Not you. I'm just talking about the creepers and their creepy craps den guys. Brighten up your place, and God. Ooh.
Yeah. Put an air freshener on every once in a while. Light a candle.
You don't like my green paint?
I mean, look, the candle on my desk,
$200 to drive there.
Look, the candle on my desk is old-fashioned scented.
It's worth the drive.
We're good. But yeah, party at DJen's house.
Just because I don't want to burst the Willy Wonka bubble for anybody, but I don't really have a real table. It just looks like a real table on camera. So you can come over. I can probably have about 3 people max. But yeah.
But yeah, also, if you are planning on having people over, make sure you clear it with your significant other. All right, because you don't want to, you don't want to get in the doghouse. All right, let me tell you now. DJen may be young here, but he knows not to get in the doghouse. All right, I may be young, but I'm not stupid.
My grandmother used to actually have a wooden doghouse on her kitchen wall next to the phone, and had the names of us grandchildren on dogs, and would put us in the house when we were bad. You didn't want to be in
That's
there.
funny. Fiance DJ wanted to get a sign over the entryway into my dungeon here that says doghouse. All right, I think we lost the whole thing of this, but anyway, practicing isn't as hard as you think it is. You guys can have fun and make friends with it. There's a lot of options available, right? So if you can't go to a casino and it's not, financially possible for you, or maybe it's just not possible for you because the casino is too far away or you don't want to go, you have options, right? We went over quite a few options. You can play online on Crapsy. You can use people's roles. You can do a lot of other stuff. Sorry, I'm reading chat now, and Buckeye's making me laugh. You can make friends and you can go play on the tables. Hell, if you live in the Philadelphia-ish area and you want to come over and play, you got to hit my line, all right? And we can hang out. You can come play on the table, all right? And if you do it, make sure you don't film it, all right? You can film it, but don't put it out there, because make sure you don't get caught for potentially running a home game or anything like that. If you are a content provider, don't do it. It's not worth it. All right. If
It's
you want to
still
save the
monopoly
memories
money.
for yourself, you can do it.
It's still monopoly money.
Yeah, but YouTube doesn't see that.
Mm.
Got to be careful.
Yeah,
Got to
if
be
there's like
careful.
side bets, yeah, exactly. If there's side bets, like, longest roll, you win something, or just, BSing, like whoever has the most chips wins something. That's going to be gambling. I mean,
Yeah.
not that I know
money can change
anybody
that.
on an island that does that.
Exactly.
Don't show anybody on camera paying you to come into the house.
Exactly. That would be
Yeah.
yeah.
Call me. Yeah.
Play smart.
Get Jen on speed dial.
Yeah.
Yeah, play
Yeah.
smart. That's Jeff's tagline. Play smart.
Yeah. But, I think I was talking while we were frozen about, how we were just talking about, people are probably, maybe they won't go back to the casinos. And then what do the casinos do? And then John said, $10 full table blackjack, you're losing $80. Well, then having a $25 blackjack table that's half full, I mean, the economics are very close.
Mhm.
Right. The casinos are in a bad spot where they've already raised wages for folks in order to be competitive. So they can't just go back and drop it to really low stakes. I mean, we might have to have like, you don't really see 10 very much, but 15 is like the lowest I saw, on the strip, unless it was early mornings. And even then, it's like as soon as that table was half full, they just jack it right back up. Like they were just doing 10 to attract somebody. And as soon as you had 4 bodies, it was like, okay, let's raise it back to 25. And then they'd rather have empty $25 and $50 tables than dropping it, that's the dumbest economic incentive I've ever seen. But I think that's just their hard line. And they think the people will come, people have no choice. And that's just not the case. There's so many other expensive things you can put your money to. I'm not even seeing food comps very much. I mean, really chintzy, like $70, $50 food comps. I never get free play at any of the Caesars in Vegas because I get the rooms for free, but it's like all 6.5 dozen.
Yeah, I mean, Jen, you would know this probably more than, anybody else, because I know you track your comps very closely, especially out of, those on the panel and stuff. But you can definitely see that the casinos are being a lot more stingy with comps and giving them, like, I know even my local, like I used to get, so my local doesn't do free play often. They do match play. So for anyone who doesn't know, match play, you actually have to put money on it. It's not just like if you get a $15 free play, you can put the $15 coupon down. For this, you actually have to put 15 on top of the 15. So really it's a $30 bet in theory, but they don't give that out as much anymore. And same thing with a lot of the food credits and stuff, like you were saying. Like I used to get one a week for, I depended on how much I played, how much money I got, but it was at least, like a $25 food credit per week, right? Now you're seeing I may see 50 in a month, which it may have gone up, but still, if you look at it, $25 a week is 100 as opposed to 50 for the entire month, right? So they're definitely getting a little bit tighter with that kind of stuff. And you know, if the what's it called? If your casino is getting a little bit more stingy, well, maybe you have to do you either have to not play there as much or don't rely on the free play and stuff like that, right? If you are a player who relies on that, then you're going to have to take advantage of it when you can, as opposed to maybe how much you were taking advantage of it earlier. So I don't know. Is anybody else on the panel? Because I know John's trying to queue up questions. Anyone else on the panel seeing that their comps are a little maybe stingy? They're not as you know, prevalent as they were.
Well, for Caesars, I'm actually very surprised because this coming April is going to be the first time I'm actually going to get to play on one of the multipliers. Last year I started in February, but I was still able to get the hotel for free, which I thought was very surprising, being that I hadn't played yet this year. But again, I'll go back to Penn Play and the local. God, Penn sucks. They'll give you one of those free bets, but it'll be for $10 and their minimum table is 15. Like they're just dicks. And it's like it's like why even bother? You know? They're more about raffles and you coming in and then doing like calling out a raffle every like 15 minutes in the hour for up to $500 Penn Play. But other than that, they're crap.
Yeah. And I feel like too, I don't know if how other people feel, but I know with like some of the free plays and some of the comps you could get, like you used to be able to split some of the free play, right? So like if you go to, let's say you go to like a Caesars or whatever, right? And they give you $50 in free play, but you're playing on a $10 table, they might not let you cut it 5 times into $10 coupons, but they might let you cut it into like 225 or something like that. I've seen a lot of casinos now aren't letting you do that. They're just you have to play the $50 play that's there, and that's what it is.
They're also
And they're
very
not
strict
letting
on
you chop them up.
where you put it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Like,
right.
can I put it in
Very
the
good.
field? No. Can I put it here? No.
Who's going
Can I put it in the
anywhere
pass
for a
line?
pass
$10 free play? Yeah. And they'll just take it away if it wins, right? So they just replace it. But who's going anywhere for $10? I see a $5 free play. Toll here in the Bay Area is $8. Gas is now $6.25 per gallon for like the cheapest, shitty, unleaded, right? I'm not going anywhere for free play, but the free play before I was using it to pay for gas and toll, right? So it's like that wipes out the incidentals of like going there and feeling like you're a wash. But good luck getting anything else comped off your bill. And so no, they're going to have to raise that if they're not going to raise the table minimums, lower the table minimums in order to incentivize anyone to come. I mean, people are just not going to come because there's going to, it sounds so bad. No one's going to go to the casinos.
Yep.
Without some sort of something.
Yep. We're going to get to some questions now. We'll kick them around the panel. Quickly, I'm going to touch on James's question because I just saw it pop up. Do I play it live? Occasionally, not often, but sometimes. That's the answer there. Sometimes. All right. We were talking about Crapsy a lot earlier. So Duracell asked, is it bad that content providers highlight Crapsy winners?
No.
Dylan, what do you think?
No, I don't think it's bad at all. I think it's part of the game. I don't think it should be a complete focus, but that is part of it. That's why some people come, and that's part of their itch. There's different types of itch for different types of players. So if you want, and that with this Crapsy thing, I think that with the content providers, I think that they really need to mix it up. I really think that they need to set their Crapsy tables at different levels instead of just locked into one type of table all the time. I think they need to mix it up, and that will give a broader stroke for everyone to enjoy it with those specific YouTubers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think, for me personally, speaking from a content provider's perspective, I'll be honest, I rarely play on a lot of people's Crapsies. For those, I'm usually pretty busy. Or like I'll tune in and listen, and I'll be in chat. But I rarely play on Crapsy myself. But I think that highlighting winners is good with a caveat, though, right? Like I think you should highlight winners, but I think you should also say like, they took 15 rebuys if they took 15 rebuys, or like,
Exactly.
you know, you could show their, win-loss statement for the day, right? Or for that session. Because like, you know, there's a difference between, let's say, second place. Let's say, Diana, you and I are playing on a table, right? And let's say I'm playing $500 bankroll out of the 2,000 that's available, and I'm playing, slow and steady. I never take a rebuy, but I end up $100, right? And I'm not saying you do this, but let's say, you're up $50,000 and you take a look and, you had 15 rebuys
Yeah.
and, you caught the God roll and boom, made a ton of money. Right? Well, props for making the money, but I think the caveat needs to be shown that, look, yes, you did make the money, but you also had 15 rebuys. At one point, you were down $20,000, and now
Exactly.
you're up 50, as opposed to like maybe the person who's in second place who at their low point was down 300, but now they're up 100, but never took a rebuy. They played within reason. And if you look at their win-loss chart, it's, relatively flat, as opposed to like some massive spikes, like a heart rate monitor or something like that.
I completely agree with you that in the Crapsy, they've got a win-loss report in there that you can click on every player's name if the content provider will do that, but most do not do that. So I applaud you in calling out that the content creators, if they are going to focus on the leaderboard, then they need to go through the leaderboards and like you said, display what this person, again, with the rebuy amounts and their win loss. There's a bigger picture. You don't have to just seeing what the little numbers are. That's not the whole picture. There's a bigger picture here that they need to highlight. As
Well, the
far as I'm
question
concerned,
is,
I'm going to completely
the
agree
question
with you.
is this, Diamond, is Crapsy for you, the player, or is Crapsy for the people that are playing? Like that's like
Both.
the thing is the whole point of Crapsy as a group thing, the way that they design the app is to inspire competition, chatting. Like nobody uses Crapsy's chat feature that much, right?
Right.
Because I don't know why, because we're on YouTube and you're trying to chat, and it's hard to chat on YouTube and play Crapsy at the same time. But I think like if you took advantage of that, like a little bit of talking smack, a little bit of whatever during the Crapsy thing, makes it more social, right? But again, if you're going to play it from the standpoint of I'm trying to make myself better, then you physically can ignore the leaderboard and not worry about it. Just play your own damn game, right? Like getting distracted by the leaderboard, that's a you problem, not a provider's problem. The provider's just going to say, here's what I got, and look at it, I guess, right? I just wish Crapsy would have you have a master bankroll of your own, and when you go to somebody's show, you buy in from your master bankroll. And if you rebuy as much as you want to, and if you burn all your money, then that sucks for you, right? I think that's more realistic, and it does force you to play a certain way, right? To
But I
some
agree
degree,
with
right?
Chris. But I agree with Chris saying that players have different goals and play different ways. And when you're on that leaderboard, I don't know how that other player is really playing unless I deep dive myself. But if the content provider takes a little bit of time on the recap at the end of their show and say, let's look at the different
Mm-hmm.
players. They don't have to go from 1 to 5, but they could pick different ones at random
Yeah.
and look and go more into a deeper dive. And I think that's a key that's missing that
Yeah.
would make it more complete. And we can all look and learn from different ways
See,
of
I've done that
playing.
a couple of times. Like I never show the leaderboard because I don't really care who's winning. Like to me that and again, this is gonna sound really cocky, but my show's for me, not for you, kind of thing. Like I'm rolling so I win money, and if you guys happen to win in Crapsy, then good for you. When I have done it, I have pulled Crapsy up and oh look, somebody won whatever. Let's see what they did, and then I click on a roll to see what their bets were, and it's like 3,600 on the six and hopping the eights for 500 each. I'm like, okay, this is stupid. Why am I even showing that? Because nobody in their right mind's betting that way ever, right? To me, that's nonsense, and I won't show it because it's not helpful to anybody but making that person feel good in the moment, right? If your show is a or the show is about something else, and you want to at the end, let's take a look at what happened. That's a different story. But this race to the top and the leaderboard thing, if I go back and dissect people's bets, it's more depressing than anything else to me to see that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like that's so unrealistic.
I couldn't agree more. And I was going to chime in if you hadn't, John. I couldn't disagree with you more, Dylan. I don't care about people who play Crapsy. That's great for you. And if you're interested in the analysis of somebody's Crapsy play, go for it. I could care less as a content provider. A show is already going on. If I'm trying to do 100 rolls, I'm already going past 2.5 hours. I don't have time to go then do analysis on how people got to where they got.
That's cool.
It's
But
great. It's great if you want to do it, and if you want to look at their, click on their name and see how they bet. That's awesome. That's for you. That's for analysis for you, and that's what you like to do, and that's totally cool. I would never bash anybody for wanting to do that. As a content provider, I've already gone 2.5 hours. My back is killing me. I just want to show the top 10, top 5. I do, shout out to people who didn't rebuy, which I think is important. Because I do give people rebuys, but to see people who made the money without rebuying is still impressive a little.
exactly.
And I'll give a shout out on that. But my live shows are and I've said it in my live shows that it's a practice session. And it's hard that it's a practice session but the good news is about it being a live show is that it's just as distracting as being at the casino.
Right.
So
But I'll go back.
Can I have long rolls? Can I make money with all the distractions?
Right. But I'll go back to my original point with the Crapsy and the content creators are not mixing up their table minimums and their table settings. So that doesn't give that kind of puts the players in a certain frame of mind. If you're just there to do a bankroll build, then you're locked into that, and then we're forced to be locked. The players are forced to be locked in with you. But if you mix it up, then just on Crapsy, you can still do your bankroll show. I'm not discouraging that in any way, shape, or fashion. Please don't think that. But I think that they're really neat. The next step for everybody is to have different settings and to give players more variance, options.
It's
Like, what would those
like I said,
settings be?
if I'm going to Brian's channel to watch Brian throw on the weekend, I'm trying to make as much money as I can to practice for tournament play, right? If I'm going to Joe's show, like Joe said it in chat, his show's not about that. He runs Crafty like I do as a convenience. I'm doing it so if you want to play along, you can play along, but it's not what my show's about, right? So that's why the leaderboard to me is not very important, nor is that my pace. I go as slow as I feel like going because Crapsy's kind of a side thing to the show, but
I
Brian
get
is
it.
the focus of the show, right? And what Jeff does is the focus of the show. So it's different mindset for the player, right? If you want to play along, great with mine or Joe's, but with the other guys, you're dialing in so you can play along, and that's the whole point of the show. In that case, leaderboards are important and that kind of thing too. And if you, the player, again, want to use that as practice time, great, good for you. You'll never be on the leaderboard. If you, as the player, want to see your name in lights and get shouted out, then you're going to bet like a degenerate and I guess bully for you. Like that to me is not valuable, and that's why I never do it. Like I just don't. And I'll go on Jeff's show and I'll bet 64 across and just work stuff out. I like to work out strategy ideas against real rolls to see how they hold up, not trying to win anything on Crapsy. But everybody's got to make their own call. And when you go to Joe's show or my show, you're doing it for a different reason than when you go to Brian's show. And I think if you, the player, can embrace that a little bit, it's better for you. I'm going to go to Brian's show and hoot and holler and have fun and talk smack in the chat. I'm going to go to John's show and make fun of him for shooting shitty. That's the thing, right? And Craftsy allows you to do that. And as providers, we have the ability to kind of create 7 different show types that sort of speak to those things, I think, right? And I think that's what I'm hoping that we get out of this conversation is it's not the same for every show or every player. Just kind of, bob and weave as you please, I suppose.
It's funny you bring up Brian because and that's the difference between my show and Brian's show is Brian will actually read every single chat, which I find interesting because
Yeah.
I can't concentrate enough to then click on the chat and also do the other stuff. He's just better at it than I am. But the fact that he has other shooters there to shoot where he's not the one shooting all the time
Mm-hmm.
makes him able to interact more with the live
Totally.
chat.
It makes it great.
Jeff,
Yeah.
I don't know how, nobody knows how Jeff does it. Jeff is the best. That's why he's called the voice. He's
Yep.
able to bring up the chats and still play, and now
Yeah.
maybe the difference between Jeff and some others, and Mark, I think Mark Mad Hatter actually said it even earlier, less chin, more spin. I know that it's a joke with Jeff's channel, but I actually try to get it. I think I can get in more roles because I don't talk as much, and some people appreciate that. It doesn't mean I'm doing it, worse or better than others, but I'll give kudos to Jeff and Brian for being able to keep up with the chat and still be able to play. But I find it very interesting, when you brought that up about Brian, because Brian takes the time to read every chat and he interacts with it too. Some people have chats.
I think you're right.
And Jeff will say it before. Some people have chats, and then we don't, as hosts, we don't really know what's going on. They're just chit chatting between them, and we'll just let it happen. And we'll even acknowledge we're like, "Yeah, you guys are talking about something. I don't know what you're talking about, but you just keep it going." But Brian interacts with every single chat, which I find interesting.
He's the master at it. I think even more so than Jeff, because Brian, he'll absorb what you say. Oftentimes hosts, when they look at chat, they just read it, but they can't absorb it. And that's Jeff too. Like he'll say something, he's like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. He'll read it. And it's just like 3 dog nights. I don't know what that means. And it's like, there's 3 dogs and it's night. It's not, but he can't, right? He's just saying it to acknowledge that it's said, but he can't interact with it necessarily. I actually think, Craig, your pacing is great. Because you do chat enough that where it's like, we're not forgotten and we're not left to our own devices and we're Lord of the Flies down in Crap's chat and just doing our own thing. We're like a little bit policed and more roles good. And I love John's show, his teaching show, but it's like literally like 6 spins per hour. It's like, oh my God. The only thing is I can't build a bankroll on 6 spins, right? Like I'm not John and going 6,400 across, 1 hit, bye-bye, right? I'm trying to do it more like 160 across and getting a couple of hits, So anyways, I rarely compliment Brian, HCS Brian, but he is the best with his shows, and they're like so fun and interactive and
To Jesus. Bankroll building. Build said bankroll. All right, there's very few people who actually have a solidified bankroll that they're just going to go withdraw from the bankroll and go play. And I know people think they want to say they have X amount of dollars in their bankroll ready to go and they're going to go. Yeah. Okay. But most of you are still playing how you're going to build a bankroll. All right. That's what it is. Apparently, my audio, of course, my audio is off. My audio off. People are saying chat, my audio is off. If so, I'm not repeating myself. I'm sorry. That was a good one.
We can't let John host these. I think, JusticeJen, you'll have to host these. John's audio, John's internet is terrible.
All right. I guess my audio is back now. What I was saying was we're going to G's question, which G's question, I have to scroll back now to find it, is related to playing with like in a bankroll building style versus playing with an actual existing bankroll. And my point here is that I 99% of people are playing to bankroll build, right? And even if you think you have an established bankroll, you don't, right? If you don't have, and I'm not saying this because you're going to go buy in, but like if you don't have at least 50 to 60K, upwards of 100, 200,000 sitting in an account just for you to gamble with, you don't have a bankroll that you can just go pull from, right? You are still bankroll building, right? So 99% of people playing are going to be bankroll building. And it's not that I'm saying that in a negative way. It's just that's the reality of the situation. And if that hurts your feelings, I don't care because that's the truth, right? I'm not playing from, I am playing from an existing bankroll, but I'm still trying to grow said bankroll, right? I'm not at a point where I think I have a bankroll that I don't have to grow anymore. I'm not saying that because I don't like to win at the casino, right? I'm always playing with a notion of I want to grow that bankroll or that account. So I am being like, let's say, careful with how I'm playing, right? Because there's not 100,000 sitting in that bank account, right? Even if there was 100,000 sitting in that bank account, I'd still probably be playing bankroll builder style. But at that point, you don't really necessarily need to build as much. Then you're playing from existing bankroll. So, anyone on the panel here want to lead us off? Any volunteers?
I'm on podcast mode right now, so you should be able to hear me, right?
We can hear
Yes.
you. Yep.
I'm going to say the difference between building bankroll and in G's question is time. Time at the table. For me, building bankroll, I'm not going to spend hours and hours for building bankroll. I'd rather spend hours and hours once I have the big bankroll that I want to play with, like let's say 2,500. If I'm still building a bankroll of when I've got $500, $600, that's my buy-in. That could also be my bankroll sometimes. I'll spend time trying to build it, and that's not going to be a lot of time at the table. And to me, time is the difference between the two. But that's just my opinion.
Ben?
I might have to start coming in a day or two early or start bankroll building a week before on Bubble Craps so that I can play with the group. Even playing responsibly, you can only survive so many PSOs. And I was the queen of throwing PSOs like last in Vegas. It was awful. But I'm in this dilemma where I feel like I'm bankroll building but too small. And it's like John's roulette thing. It's like, do you want to try to win $100 by winning like 99 spins, a little small risk, or should you just do it bigger clips, green chips, black chips, have a few less spins, a few less chances, build your bankroll, and then go home? I don't know. I need to talk to people who have, you can't talk to people who have really huge bankrolls, like, Fran, he's coming in heavy, or VDT. But I also wouldn't be talking to someone who's bringing, a couple of hundred, because it's just not in the right range. And I'm really I feel like I'm in the mid-level, and I don't know where I fit. And I'm having a very difficult time with the proper bankroll grinding level.
Island thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are there's a difference between, of course, bankroll building and then just having a bankroll. The difference are the goals, the percentages. When you're building a bankroll, you're forced to be more conservative, or you should be forced to be more conservative, and and have tighter percentages of the win goals, loss limits, things like that. But when you have a bigger session / bankroll, then that expands your goals, and you can expand your win goal percentage and loss limit percentage, and because you have more one of the phrases is that your bankroll and your session money should be able to withstand a few hiccups if things don't go your way. And so with just bankroll building, if you hit a few hiccups, then you're toast, and so that's the difference that I see it.
John?
Yeah, I love G. I love this question from G actually, and I say it all the time. If you're bankroll building, and your mindset's different, like you're more apt to leave. Like I say, you're more apt to get the hell out of there when you're up a little bit. And it's like, I'm going to drive to a local casino and win X and then leave, and I don't have to be there for the experience, right? Go to Vegas, you're playing from your bankroll. Like a cruise ship, you're playing from your bankroll. So your mindset is, it's more of a social, fun, let's felt the table kind of a thing. Let's go for it. Like I'm more apt to play right side, pure right side in when I'm playing from bankroll. I'm more apt to try and use my great skills as a DI, right, to make a bunch of money when I'm playing from bankroll. When I'm building bankroll, it's a whole different story. It's the horseman, it's 6, 7, 8, it's let me eke out 20% and get the hell out. And you're right, Dylan, when you're in that mode, you don't have a lot of wiggle room, typically, right? I found myself in bankroll building mode in Vegas this last time because of the way I rolled into town. So I found myself in every session building bankroll for the next session. So I took a different mindset to it. It's all about what's here, right? It's not about the money itself. It's all about what your opportunity is. Like we talk about that with the bridge all the time, right? Opportunity to lean into a roll or opportunity to walk out. And I think that is the key word, I think, when you're playing from or with a bankroll. And I think G has a great comment here. He says, building a bankroll is a grind, which it definitely is. Playing with bankroll is being satisfied with your win. When you're playing with bankroll, you have a little bit of leverage there. When you get to a point, you're like, I did it, I'm home and gone. When I'm trying to build bankroll, I'm grinding out 5, 10, 15%, right? And letting it happen. And it's one's work and one's play. I guess you could say it like that, right?
Yep. Very true. All right. I think that's the questions we're going to address tonight, because I know we're pushing almost 2 hours. John, can we get a visit from my buddy?
Light! 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 Ah! Light! Light! Yeah! Light! 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 Oh! No like! Oh!
I love when
It's
he
funny
makes
every
an
time. I'm
appearance.
sorry.
I absolutely love it. I love it. All right. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show tonight. We're gonna do some final thoughts, final words, and the color coming in. But hopefully, again, you guys enjoyed the show. You took something away from it. So, ladies first, Jen, what are your final thoughts, final words?
There was a good fun. I see a chat in with Slim saying that all I need is a $300 bankroll, and I should be able to get that to $3,600 if I play it right. Of course, if the table goes right, but 300 is, I mean, it's not even like really two shooters, to be honest, at 160 across. I mean, even if you do $30, 6 and 8, that's $60. I mean, that's like 5 shooters. Things have to go the right way. And the realistic thing is that when we're at the table, it always starts as a torpedo. We're just getting bashed right away. It's like almost never that you walk up, the ATS gets hit, everything's beautiful, and you're up $10,000. So I need to explore that with him soon. But I enjoyed the lively chat, guys. Thanks so much.
Greg, final thoughts, final words.
I'm going to touch on the either the Charlie DG or even the 6, 7, 8 Jen was talking about earlier. If you feel that yes, it is a grind, right? But and for people building bankroll, great strategy in my opinion. I've seen it work. Jen's seen it work. Jen and I ran it all night long during one of the Crafts for the Cure. It was awesome. Especially if you're playing with somebody, that's what makes it really fun. But if you're bored at the 6, 7, 8, go 2 times, 3 times bets. instead of a 36 and a 38 and coverage on the DP, go 90 on the 6 and 8 for one hit and turn it off. Or go for it and do like a drawdown. Go down to 60 or go down to 30 after you make that one hit, then turn them off. There's so many different ways to play this game. It is fucking believable. You just have to play within your means, play what you can with your bankroll you have. And if you don't have the bankroll, you need to play something that is going to grind out and build your bankroll. You don't build bankroll with one shot, hot shots on hop bets. That may happen once a year. I guarantee you it doesn't happen every casino session.
Yes, sir. John, final thoughts, final words.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, apologies on the internet dropping earlier, and then Zoom for some reason froze, and that's why we lost audio. So I had to restart Zoom real quick there. So apologies for the technical problems. I'll keep trying to get it better. An invitation for tomorrow morning's show. I have got everybody watch Coffee Run tomorrow. I got a great picture to share with you. It's not a Wenatchee picture. It's a picture that you're really going to want to see tomorrow. I'm so happy to share this picture. You got to log in tomorrow. After I donk it on the YOLO, it's such a good picture. I can't wait to show it to you. And my final thought actually is, what's that?
Is it you with hair?
No, it's not. I can show you that one though. I've shown that picture before, the me with hair picture. No, this is actually.
No, I've seen it. I'm just messing.
This is related to Crapsy the
Is it
Cure.
more like?
No.
Okay, hopefully it's not scenery because,
Nope.
it's nice, but.
We've seen your mountains.
Okay.
It's not scenery, but I'm going to keep showing scenery. I don't care.
Okay.
It's my show. I'm going to show my scenery because I'm so proud. No, this is actually a Crapsy the Cure related picture. You'll love it. You will love it. And what else? Oh, yeah, I was going to say the last thing. My last thought is this. Remember, like I say every day now, we've got some people out there that's hurting, right? So keep our friends, our online friends and family in your thoughts and prayers. I just know that there are people who need it and appreciate it. So just always put that positive energy out there every time you go to bed, because it does go a long way. It goes a long way. And there's people that I know, multiple people that are like, man, I'm just going through some shit right now. So just throw them good energy. All right.
100%. Dialing, final thoughts, final words.
Just real quick, just be content. You got to be content with what you're doing, and if it's not working, then walk. But you have to be content with the little gains that we make here and there. There's no shame in bankroll building, and grinding, and there's no shame in trying to go when you have a bankroll. But you still have to be content no matter what you do.
100%. All right, everybody at home, this is going to be the end of season 3, episode 13. We appreciate all of you for being here, for all the great chats, and for all the great conversation. We love you all. Remember to, respect others. Be aware of the situations that are going on. And if you can't make it to a casino, practice at home. And if you want to practice with friends, practice with friends. But if you're going to be throwing dice sets with friends, always make sure you practice safe sets.
Always practice safe sets.
That's got to be a t-shirt. There you go. With a big old 3V on it. That's awesome.
No.
Oh my God.
I do things the hard way.
Oh no.
You'll offend somebody.
Cut the show.
On that note.
Bye all.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.